Hi everybody, this is Curtis Reacts. The esteemed woman to my right, this is my mom. Hi Mom.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on today. She doesn't know what we're going to be reacting to, but I thought that today we would react to Jay-Z. Have you ever heard of Jay-Z? Do you know what that is or who that is?
I have heard that name, certainly, and sort of seen it flash by.
What can you describe to me, like what kind of music does Jay-Z make? Or
I think maybe rap.
Okay.
But I have to say, I haven't been up on current popular music since the 1970s because
Okay.
we started having babies in the 80s, and it was Old MacDonald, and
That
and
my
I
fault.
just
My fault.
yes,
My fault.
yes,
But that's not
all
that long ago.
Curtis's
The
fault.
70s is only 50 years ago. Probably not much has changed. Speaking of like long time, this song, I want to play you a little intro to him. And to me, I think, oh yeah, this is like a Jay-Z song. This song is probably from 20 years ago.
Okay.
At least. But here's just, let me just play you like a few minutes to get,
Okay.
so you know who he is. Just one minute of this.
All right.
Take the bass line out. Jiggle. Let it bump though.
Oh, you know that, Annie? Yeah.
It's from Annie.
That's him.
From standing on the corners bopping to driving some of the hottest cars New Yorkers ever seen, for dropping some of the hottest verses rappers ever heard, from the dope spot with the smoke block, thinking the murder scene.
So
like
that's Jay-Z. What do you think?
I like it. Fun surprise to hear Annie coming in there.
She's good, isn't she? Yeah.
It's a Hard Knock Life. Great beat.
Good. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is actually not music, but some statements that he made about his religion or his spiritual journey. It's caused some controversy because of what he said, but I'll let you react to it. So this is just like a minute-long clip.
People in religion are hypocrites. So I sought out religion to say, okay, maybe I'm not a Christian. Let me see, maybe I'm, God body, right? Okay, maybe I'm a Buddhist, okay? Maybe I'm Muslim. So I got a bit of, and then realized, oh, I'm just a spiritual person. Because if you walk into any one of these places, you walk into a mosque, a church, a thing, it's an altar. That's constant. There's God, there's an altar. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, okay, that's what aligned for me in my spirit, in my soul, was I'm a spiritual person. I don't know everything that's out there, and I'm fine with that. You know what I'm saying? I know God exists, and I'm cool with that.
So what do you think
it.
about that?
I like it because I can totally understand why he feels like there's a lot of hypocrisy in religion, because there is. There's good and bad. It's a tool here on this earth. We talk about Emanuel Swedenborg a lot, and
Yes.
Swedenborg was addressing a lot of hypocrisy in religion. And one of the hypocrisies is saying you got to be in this certain club and call God this certain thing, worship this certain way, or else you're out. And that just doesn't make sense for a universal divine being of love. So I like what he's saying about like being able to find it in all kinds of spaces.
And he's saying that there's an altar. So everywhere's got an altar. So
Yeah.
I guess what I take that to mean is everywhere there's this fundamental undercurrent, which is we're here to worship God.
Yeah. Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, I love that common, you look for the common ground. That's what I love looking for. And I feel like that's what Swedenborg leads us to, is like look for that common ground instead of the differences. There's an altar, maybe it looks different, but it's an altar still.
Doing the same thing. There's actually a video where people are saying, we don't like what he said because it's too universalist. But I want to play just a couple clips of him talking a little bit more about his belief in God, and then...
I don't know how else to explain this sunset, and how if I get a cut, a scab forms, and how my body is like this computer that reacts to movement, how my eyebrows is made to keep sweat from going in my eyes, and how everything works so perfectly. No one can tell me that two planets crashed and these things happen. It's very hard for me to believe that.
So what do you think
I
about
love that.
You like it?
He's seeing the divine in the amazing ways that his body works and nature works, and I love it.
Hard for me to believe that two planets crashed. So I guess you could say there's an explanation, a non-God explanation, which is just, it just happened through physics. But he's saying, that doesn't make sense. That's not satisfying. You're telling me that, but that doesn't align with the experience of living in this incredibly purposeful thing.
Yes, I'm actually slowly reading through a book called Return of the God Hypothesis, written
I've heard
by
of
a
it.
scientist who's demonstrating that it's harder and harder to just kind of scientifically deny there's this intelligence behind everything. And he
Yeah.
just walks you through the different theories and how they kind of fall apart eventually. So,
Do you know there's the Da Vinci Code?
Yep.
So there's a guy who wrote those books named Dan Brown, and I just finished reading a book of his called Origin. And it's fiction, like Da Vinci Code, but sort of all wrapped up in culture. And this one is like wrapped up in sort of the science versus religion war. I think it came out sort of right around when we started on YouTube here, when it was like new atheism versus religion. Anyway, at the end of it, spoiler alert, he makes his statement, which is through his characters, but it's basically, there's got to be something more because of the elegance of the laws of the universe. But there's not a literal Adam and Eve. That's sort of where he landed, which I think is kind of what we're talking about here. So this is something that he said that some Christians didn't like. And I want to know, you being a Christian, do you like this or not like this? Here we
okay.
go.
I think, the people that are reading the Quran and people that are reading the Bible are really reading about the same person.
That's it. That's the whole clip. Are people that are reading the Bible and reading the Quran reading about the same person? And isn't that like not denying Christianity?
It's not. It's not. I mean, I just think the wonderful thing that I gain as a Swedenborgian Christian is that the Lord is for everyone. Swedenborg refers to Jesus as the Lord, the divine human, who is just so much more expansive than traditional Christianity has kind of, I feel, put him in kind of a box who just wants people to think and talk a certain way. Jesus, the Lord, Jesus Christ, is just so expansive and universal in that God, he recognizes that everybody needs to be, just like we each relate to different people in different ways, like we have different relationships,
Yeah.
and your daughter will call me Grandma Kay, but you
Yeah.
call me Mom or Karen, and
Yep. True.
some people call me Mrs. Childs. Different names don't mean it's a different person. It just means there's a different relationship, a different kind of relationship. So.
Just like my wife is a teacher, and when she runs into one of her students, she teaches preschool, so they're very young, but when she runs into one of her students outside of the classroom, they're just like, what are you doing here? Because they have such a specific belief in who she is because of the environment they encounter her in. Whereas somebody who's a coworker of hers or just another kid who knows her but isn't a student of hers, they don't have this same experience of her. It's got to be like that with God.
And if your wife would be, loving to adapt how people see her, like not reject, like, that's not my name, or you have the wrong idea of me, just like delighting in being able to have children relate to her one way and coworkers another. And why would God not be all the more that way, that just delighting if people are trying to pursue goodness and the divine?
Isn't that rejecting Jesus Christ, who says, I am the way, the truth, and the life? I mean, what's going on here? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, what am I trying to do? The way is the way he lived and the principles he taught, and people can do that in any religious tradition. All those ways that Jesus taught us to
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Love your neighbor as yourself, and like love your enemies and repent. Like look at your own negativity, but then go out and do good, serve your neighbor, serve. That's the way. And Jesus embodied that. So he is the way because he was demonstrating that. But that way can be walked in different religions. And that's what Jesus is concerned about. All those, people get hooked up on the word believe in me. But if you look in context of what Jesus means by believe in me, it means believe in goodness, walk this way, live this life. If you believe in a cause, you live it. So it's a more expansive, it's not just intellectual.
The Word made flesh. Mm-hmm. So if the Word is a God teaching you how to live, if you're living by that, it's a more meaningful and something that takes more to follow Jesus in that way than just to say, I believe. And you know what I think it is? Like Jay-Z is saying, you can't just tell me planets crash together in space and we end up with the life that we have. I think it's the same rationality is saying, you can't tell me that there's God who is the one who made every single person and is inside everything that's beautiful and complicated, and yet has this weird, quirky, detached, you have to say my name in this way. That's such an artificial, you just look at that next to the reality of love and life and you say, nope, there's no way. Yeah. Just like you look at physical material and say, no, people cannot emerge solely from this thing.
Yes, the Lord, the divine, is just such expansive love and mercy and understanding of every person's path and every person's intentions.
You're not mad at Jay-Z for
I'm
saying
not.
that? All right, then let's go out. Let's listen to a little more of one of his songs, and that'll be the end.
Okay.
I think this one is. I think of it as new. It's probably from 10 years ago or 15 years ago or something like that. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I'm out at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to the Narrow. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Ma.
Yeah. Whoop, bonk.
Took it to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down A Street, off-white Lexus, driving so slow, but BK